Another week and another episode of Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Now, before I get into this actual review, let me just say, for people who don't know where to watch it, I will leave a link to the fan website here on screen really quickly. Pause and type this in so you guys can go watch the episode for yourself whenever it comes out. Or go check out 4KOA_subs on Twitter/X, as they will update you whenever there are new fan subs out, as well as give you progress on how the fan subs are going in multiple different languages, primarily in Spanish and in English. This way you can obviously watch the episodes after they come out from Japan and be able to be up to date to see what's going on in Four Knights of the Apocalypse anime before we actually end up getting it on Netflix in January of next year. Now, as for the episode itself, honestly, it was okay. It was not as amazing as I was expecting it to be, and I think this also has some of the clunkier uses of CG in this whole season, at least in my opinion. So it wasn't the greatest showcasing for Four Knights. Some shots and pieces of animation were pretty good. However, it was also a relatively fast-paced episode, and I can see people not liking this episode because two major things, well, technically three, happened in this one singular episode all at once. And I remember in the manga, this was a contentious thing amongst people who were reading it weekly. So I can understand that people don't like this episode or were kind of iffy about it. Nonetheless, from this point forward, it's nothing but smooth sailing with future episodes because the plot will go up as well. But the writing in this episode, based off of the 4 chapters it was adapting, was done very well. And it has some really cool moments in this episode as well. So we'll get into it when we get into it. But before we get into the actual episode, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and keeps me more motivated to make these videos for you guys, as I'm covering the manga and the anime for Four Knights of the Apocalypse weekly. So here's hoping we can get that done. Also, my goal is to get us close to or even reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I got one more month, so let's hope we can make it happen. We're very close to 7K subscribers right now, so at the very least, let's get to that before the end of November. Now, with that out of the way, let's get right into the review. So first off, I just want to say, when Ironside uses the ritual to basically start the sacrifice for God from Eternal Darkness, he essentially unleashes this chaos beasts, chaotic dead, to morph the area around town into just these weird amalgamated nightmarish creatures, chaos beasts essentially, to essentially kill the townsfolk and use them to power the coffin. And obviously, I will always like the majority of these chaos designs, because I feel like Nakba's is getting like real berserk with some of these designs in terms of like their grotesqueness, though obviously I do prefer the designs in Berserk, but they're also a lot more terrifying in the manga. It tends to be like this with a lot of anime, where the manga has just a bit more detail put into it, and the black and white really amplifies the otherworldly nature of these designs. Meanwhile, in anime with color, it doesn't really hit as hard as it should, though sometimes it does when done right. This one, not bad. I still like the designs, they're pretty cool, but due to their complexity, you don't really see them move all too much. As the townsfolk are in disarray, Percival's group are heading up to try and take down Ironside, or at least main objective, destroy the coffin or grab a piece of it in order to stop the ritual. Meanwhile, they leave Sin to try and deal with the townspeople and the chaos beasts that are occurring right now. An obviously doesn't trust Sin as he's hiding something or he's lying, but Percival believes him, and even Donnie's like, it's not the first time the guy's acted shady, but we can trust him. Sin has come through, and he is kind of the big strategist of their entire group, so it makes sense that they do trust him, and Nazians trust Percival, so we go with that. They make it to the top of the town, where they see Ironside performing the ritual, and obviously Percival is coming face to face with Ironside again. And I love how Ironside just like kind of not paying too much attention to the group of kids that are behind him, just being like, oh, you're still here, Percival? Look, I would love to kill you right here, right now, but I'm kind of busy. I'll basically let you go for now. I'll kill you next time. And I like how Percival is just trying to get Ironside to stop the ritual, stop from basically doing a massacre, and Ironside just exudes a bunch of his magic power just to make the rest of the group kind of tremble and fear, like, yeah, this guy is way out of our league, and he's not even looking at us, not even paying us any mind, and we know that he can basically kill us whenever he wants. But this doesn't really do anything for Percival, as, like the shonen MC he is, he runs into action and tries to take down Ironside, or at least catch him off guard, by doing the same move that he did when he knocked Tulsker down into the ground. And instantly Ironside just divides it in half, just pointing his finger at it, showcasing just how much of a difference there is in power between Percival and Ironside. What the manga and even the episode did throughout is showcase just how much of a threat Ironside is to this group and how far ahead he is in comparison to these characters. Donnie and Oziens are basically novices, same with Percival, just with pretty strong magic power and superhuman strength. And An does have actual skill as a swordswoman, however, even then, she's not up to Ironside's level. And to that regard, he isn't even looking at them, not even paying them any mind as he's focusing on this ritual. And it really showcases just how much of a threat Ironside is at this point in the story, and will continue to be throughout the story for the main group. As Percival is being asked by Ironside if he intends to fight, Nazians reminds him that they promised Sin essentially not to fight. Ironside just focus on the coffin, so Percival sends his golems to try and destroy the coffin, but they're instantly repelled backwards, which obviously Ironside realizes, oh, your goal is to break the coffin. Interesting. So you probably know what we really intend to do with this thing, huh? As he then motions his fingers, creates a cross, and just tries to hit the entire group at once, but Percival gets them to dodge at the very last second. As everyone looks down, Ironside just created a giant chasm in the middle of the square. It's also this moment where Ironside and Percival basically fully revealed that they are related, merely because An didn't know, and now An knows that they're father and son. So it's an interesting thing, as An realizes she basically badmouthed Percival without even realizing it. And Percival's like literally the nicest person in this entire show. But I do like how Donnie is freaking out in this moment, being like, look, we'd be babies and you wouldn't hold back right now. We gotta get the hell out of here. We weren't even supposed to hang out in this town. We're supposed to get a ride and then leave. And I like how An's like, look, you guys, he's right. Donnie's right. You guys have no stakes in this whatsoever. You can just get out and leave. I wouldn't blame you. Ozien's obviously standing for Percival, but Donnie basically just, obviously scared and out of his depth, runs away. He doesn't want to die in this situation, honestly, kind of reasonable. If you're a regular person, Donnie doesn't really have any skills as a holy knight or a fighter, and all he can do is make people float. He doesn't really have any way of contributing in this fight, and he'll just weigh everybody down. At least for now. We will get the Donnie stocks rising fairly soon. As a manga reader, you can be guaranteed that. As Donnie leaves, Percival then conjures up a sword around his hand with his magic to try and distract Ironside, basically telling everyone that he'll pin down Ironside's movements by attacking him repeatedly so they can go ahead and take out the coffin. Ironside, without even looking once more, parries every single one of Percival's blows and shatters the magic sword that he creates, knocking him back. Being like, oh, you learned this from your grandpa, huh? Very impressive for someone cutting up a dead bird to be used on a cutting room table for dinner. And as he goes to strike Percival, An blocks the attack, as the two of them then begin to trade blows. Ironside effortlessly parries all of An's attacks, and even knocks her back, shredding some of her clothing as well, showcasing that he can do whatever he wants. She has no power over him right now, and it is kind of true. As he also says, can you really fight with yourself looking like that? As An's like, yeah, I don't really care. She rips off her dress and reveals she actually has like a fighting outfit underneath, showcasing that she can actually better move in this and actually show her resolve to actually be a holy knight. And there's like a person's like, An, you're very cool, and I just like how she's bashful about it. This is a cool moment for An. I like it. And she'll continue to prove herself as an actual asset in fights, and her improvement is actually shown fairly well throughout the series. It's also revealed that An actually managed to land one scratch and draw blood off Ironside, showcasing her actual skill. She did actually land a blow on Ironside, something that nobody else has done so far, even though if it was a scratch. And as Ironside's about to strike again, he starts to get dizzy, and he falls to the ground really quick before picking himself up. As it's realized that Nazians, in the commotion, managed to enchant An's blade with a paralysis type poison, so the second it cut Ironside, it infected him, and now his movements are a lot more numb and slower, thus also showcasing a reason for how they'll be able to actually hold their own against Ironside, even for a little bit. Nazians is a very good supporter whenever it comes to using his poisons, and his enchantments are very, very good. Him and An are actually a really good team, considering how fast and precise she is with her movements, so if they combine their skills more often, it'd actually be very effective against any opponent. Obviously getting hit and even poisoned pisses off Ironside beyond belief, as he then just generates a ton of particles around the main group, and it's just a barrage of cross attacks on literally everybody. About to hit An, Nazianz, and Percival. An's father gets up and basically defends her, basically being a human shield to defend her. As the smoke clears, it showcases that Percival actually used his mini golems to actually protect and start healing everyone that was hit by Ironside's attack, while seemingly Percival wasn't really blocking for himself all too much, as Ironside is holding him up by the neck. Now, what I want to say really quick is that during that explosion, we actually get a cut into town as we see somebody standing on a rooftop and then begins to get closer to the commotion, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. And manga fans can instantly recognize this character, obviously, and I think some 70 Sins fans who watch the Grudge Vampire movies will obviously notice who this is, but to those who haven't, I will not spoil it, so we'll have to wait till later. And during that cut, we also see Donnie running around town trying to avoid all the chaos monsters, and then sees a mother and her daughter stuck underneath in a basement trying to not be eaten by these monsters, as this thing has some acidic saliva just melting the bricks of their house. And Donnie's just being like, can someone please save them? What are we going to do? As obviously, he's obviously going to work out the courage to actually save them. And it's revealed later down the road, he does save them by using his levitation ability, well, this Chaos Beast, to levitate it into the air. And he says, I'll figure something out about these before this thing falls down. As he goes off to run towards the main group to actually help them. Being like, okay, we can't beat Ironside, but all we got to do is get the coffin away from him. And he's like, if Percival's there, it will actually work out somehow, which it's a scene from later on in the episode, but I just wanted to add in here to get all the Donnie bits placed in this one section. Now here comes a moment I didn't expect in the manga that was pretty brutal, and the anime did a pretty good job here. However, when it was portrayed in the manga, it was a bit more visibly brutal. The voice acting amplified this though, and that is Ironside stabbing Percival in the hand and just jerking the sword in it, causing Percival to be in intense pain, stomping on Percival's face while he's on the ground unable to move, and finally just stabbing Percival in the chest, killing him as we see the light fade from his eyes. Obviously, this was a big shock to manga readers when this happened. I'm pretty sure anime fans are like, wait, we're only 7 episodes in. The MC is already being killed off now, and there is a reason for this, and this will be properly explained in future episodes and a bit in the next episode. However, this is what happens in the manga, and this was a genuine shock, and it did twist my guts, even in the anime too, with how brutal it is. Manga obviously a bit more brutal, anime still pretty brutal. Another thing I liked about the scene is as Ironside is brutalizing Percival, An tries to go up, but Ironside is literally just intimidating the shit out of everybody, just with his sheer presence and how angry he is, showcasing that he is even more terrifying than he is. So obviously they can't really do anything right now, and Percival is killed by Ironside. As he also says that since Percival is dead, now the Four Knights will become a full group and the prophecy won't come true. And now what he wants to do now is focus on the coffin. And I really like Nazianz and An's reactions to Percival's death, as they're just trying not to believe that he's actually dead. And Nazianz's reaction is very heart-wrenching as well, as he literally just runs up, grabs Percival's body, and pulls it back towards him as he tries everything he can to wake him back up, even though he's already dead, as he even tries to use the medicine that helped save the gorge and bring it, essentially revitalize it, but Percival can't swallow it. An obviously tries to do mouth-to-mouth with the medicine, but that doesn't work either. But I really do like Nazianz's reaction to this, as Percival is his friend, but also his hero, as he literally saved his home and saved his grandfather and saved him from isolation, which in turn is making Nazianz a more open and much better person. So obviously he doesn't want to see his first real friend and hero die before his eyes without being able to return the favor and actually help him as well. This is where the Donnie section of him believing in Percival actually comes into play, because after that scene where Donnie says, well, if Percival's around, it'll work out, one of his mini Percivals pops up again. And in this sequence, everyone's wondering how his magic is returning to him as he's already dead. And Ironside's like, I'm sure I killed him this time. But then An and Nazianz end up talking about Percival, building him up, having faith in him. As when Donnie shows up, he's like, come on guys, I know I ran away, but I came back because we got Percival. It's for Percival. And in that instance, all the mini golems that were just bubbling up from Percival, thanks to An and Nazianz's belief in him, just turned into a huge swarm that engulfs everybody Percival knows. And even though Ironside is about to just eradicate everybody in one single attack with his Ragna Claw, they are all saved, as Percival is in the air holding all of his friends with his magical aura, levitating and flying in the air. As we get the reveal that Percival's magic power is hope, as Percival is brought back to life. And that ends the episode. Now, this episode was fairly quick, and that is one of my gripes, aside from certain shots of Ironside CG just not looking right, or just a little wonky, because up until this point, the CG with Four Knights of the Apocalypse has been pretty consistent and actually pretty manageable, and honestly, not too noticeable or bad. It was actually pretty good. There were just a few shots of Ironside that just didn't seem right. And also the pacing of this episode, while every episode was relatively fast, I think this was definitely the fastest episode, as we got the death and revival of Percival plus his magical power revealed in a singular episode. And that is breakneck pacing. And what I would have liked, even if they dragged out a little bit with some of the fights, if they could, was have the episode end with Percival's death and have the next episode be his revival and magic reveal. Now, the next episode is actually going to be the conclusion of the Sistan arc with the actual real fight against Ironside showing up, which I do hope they add a bit more to the fight scenes, because not only is Sistan going to end next episode, we'll end up moving on to the following arc, and the season's probably going to end around one of the next two arcs, which I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. But yeah, it was relatively quick. I can see people not liking the MC dying and then coming back in the exact same episode, and his power literally basically being the power of friendship. However, I actually have a video planned out before the end of the year about how Four Knights actually does this trope fairly well thanks to Percival and his abilities, so look forward to that. That will contain some manga spoilers, but I'll do my best not to be super specific. Either way, the episode overall, it was fine. Nothing too big. There were some nice standout shots. Music and voice acting was still on point. And I did like certain moments when it came to the characters, the reactions, and how things were drawn. I do wish it was a bit better in terms of showcasing the actual fight against Ironside, but they did what they could, and I think they're really saving their budget for more of the bigger fights that are to come with either next episode or with the next future arcs coming up in the anime, which I'll be all too fine with. But that's all I gotta say about this episode. I know I kind of rambled on a bit, and this is longer than my usual reviews. But what did you guys think? Leave your thoughts and opinions on this episode down in the comment section down below. If you're anime only, let me know what you thought about this episode with Percival's death and revival and his power being hope. How'd you feel about Ironside being a villain, basically even weakened, still basically decimating the main group right now? How do you feel about Donnie? How do you feel about An? How do you feel about the whole group dynamic that we got right here? Who do you think the mysterious person was? And are you looking forward to the next few episodes? Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.